In January 2023, I went on a 40-day fast. No food, just water. I was desperate. I had just become a husband and I had no income going into marriage. I felt like an absolute failure of a husband and I needed a change. 6 months later, I made my first £100,000. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly how that happened, how it changed my life, and how it could potentially change yours too. So if you're struggling right now, stick with me, because this video could be everything you need to change your financial situation. So flashback to October 2022, just gotten married, and in September, I heard God speak to me and say, leave your job.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And funnily enough, my fiance turning into my wife at the same time heard the exact same thing. So I went into marriage, both of us believing that God told me to leave my job. Now, that caused issues income-wise, as I'm sure you can imagine.
You're broke!
It meant that we were relying on my wife's income, and although my wife was making good income at the time, it was almost as if as soon as we got married, everything started to change. Her business that she was running and public speaking just started to kind of go dry all of a sudden, and it seemed like everywhere we turned, there just wasn't enough money. Now, we were in love, but reality hit us pretty quickly. And the constant pressure of not being able to provide and having financial burdens really started to take a toll on our relationship.
Emotional, damn it!
Now, I know that finances is like the highest, if not second highest cause of divorce, right? And so going into marriage, finances is not something you want to be worrying about. So we were having constant arguments, constant frustration. It was putting me under so much stress as the husband and the one who decided to leave this job, even though I believed it was God. And even though my wife was in agreement at the time, now we're in the reality of it, and it felt crazy. I can't tell you how many new jobs I applied for. I had skills, I had experience, but I just felt so stuck. Kept going to God and asking God, like, what are you doing here? What is going on? What is actually happening in my life? Why has this happened? Like, I thought I was obeying you, but it looks like my obedience to you is actually making me suffer. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, where it seems like you've done something to obey God, and now it seems like your life has gotten worse. And so now at the start of 2023, my church, shout out to Light London, had called for a 40-day fast. Now, at this point in my life, I had never done anything like this before. I'm going to be honest with you. I had done 7-day fast, maybe 14 here and there, but I had never, ever attempted a 40-day fast. Now, I don't even know how, I don't even know how healthy it is for everybody to be doing that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Listen to my story and you can decide what you want to do anyway. I was so desperate in this moment when I heard the opportunity to do a fast. You know, every churches do January fasts all the time. But I said this fast in particular, I'm going to go at it in a way that I've never gone before. And I'm going to attempt to sacrifice like I've never sacrificed before in my entire life. I didn't want to be a bad husband. I couldn't stand the pressing feeling of not being a good provider to my wife. And I just couldn't believe that there's this God who would tell me to leave my job and then leave me here stranded. So I said I'm going to press in a way like I've never pressed in before. From early January, maybe January the 2nd or 3rd, all the way into the middle of February, I did not eat any food. When it got into like day 30 or something like that, I must admit I did start having some smoothies because I can't tell you how weak I was by that point, right? I can't tell you. And my bones were hurting. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to even put a picture in here of me on a jet ski a little bit after the fast. Just so you can look at me. Look at me. I was skin and bones. During this 40 days, I was spending a minimum of 2 hours every day just praying to God, and one of the biggest prayer points, as you can imagine, was my financial situation.
Just give me my money.
During the fast, me and my wife were still fighting. There were still arguments. There was still sadness. There were still issues. It was hard. The fact that I was pressing into God didn't change the fact that bills needed to be paid. But there was 3 significant moments during this 40-day fast where God spoke to me about my finances. And I didn't fully understand what he was saying at the time, but now looking back, everything makes sense. And so the first defining moment was that there was one time I was praying during this 40-day fast, and I remember clear as day I was praying, and God spoke to me. It landed right in me. And he said, the first 6 months of the year is going to be hard for you financially. But the second half of the year, you're going to have more money than you can imagine.
What do you mean by that?
That landed on me so clear. I knew that was from God, but I was even scared to repeat it or say it out loud. But I remember walking into the bedroom where my wife was, and I said to my wife, God's just said to me that the first 6 months of the year is going to be really hard financially, but after that, we're going to have more money than we can imagine. And that wasn't very comforting to her at the time. This was January. So you meant that there was going to be another 5 months of this? And was it really even God who spoke to me? We would only find out in the second half of the year. But that's what God said to me. And I didn't have anything else to say about the matter. That was what he said. Defining moment number 2. There was another time I was praying about my finances, and God spoke to me and said, what's in your hand? Just like the time when God was speaking to Moses, and it was the staff that was in his hand that he was supposed to use for the miracle. And I said to God, I don't know. Tell me, I genuinely right now I have no idea. I feel like I've tried every angle and I don't know. And he said, your wife. And I said, huh? What does that mean? And so I remember doing the exact thing as the other time. I remember going into the other room that my wife was in. And I remember saying, I feel like God asked me, what's in your hand? I said, I don't know. And he said, your wife. I did not know what to do with that information. The third defining moment, this was a really interesting one. I remember I was washing the dishes, and all of a sudden it was like I was caught up into this vision. And in this vision, it's going to sound so funny, but I was playing dominoes with this really bright guy. I couldn't see his face. He was just very, very bright. And if you know anything about the game of dominoes, you'll know that you have to connect each domino by the same number. So a 6 and a 5 can't connect. A 6 and a 4 can't connect. You can only connect a 6 and a 6. And for some reason, we were playing dominoes and I kept trying to connect like a 6 with a 3. I kept trying to connect dominoes by 2 different numbers, but that's not how the game goes. And he said to me, this shiny man, he said to me, this is the issue. You keep trying to put what you have in the wrong place. And the vision ended. Again, no idea what was going on. I had no idea what this meant. I had no idea what was happening. But I know Jamaicans play a lot of dominoes. I'm Jamaican, right? So the only thing I thought to do was go to somebody else I knew who was Jamaican. Shout out to Chris. I knew he was Jamaican, so I said, you play dominoes, right? What do you think of this vision? That's all I knew what to do. So I had these 3 defining moments. And at the time, I had no idea what to do with this information. The fast ends in the middle of February. I'm starting to eat food again. Our pastors were going to Dubai, a church kind of trip, and we decided to go as well, using really the last of what we had to even be there. And that caused even more problems because we thought maybe we're going to go to Dubai and the land of Dubai is going to open for us and blah, 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 blah. And nothing happened when we were there, and we were arguing when we were there. And I was saying stuff like, I wish I never even took this trip because now the money we've used on this trip, now it's just causing me more problems and da da da. And it was just arguments and stress. And this was around Valentine's Day as well. What a way to celebrate Valentine's Day. Nothing happened in February. Nothing happened in March. Nothing happened in April. Nothing happened in May. But something started to happen in June. So in June, God spoke to my wife and told her to relaunch a course that she had previously tried to do in 2020. Now, in 2020, my wife launched a course. 14 people paid for the course and every single person asked for a refund. Now, as you can imagine, that left her very, very discouraged with that whole area. And she decided she's not going to touch anything like that ever again, right? But God spoke to her in June of 2023 and said, launch this course again. But this time, do it with your husband. Now, I remember this moment like it was yesterday. My wife is in the bathroom. I'm here calling my name. I'm like, what's going on? So I go into the bathroom. I'm like, yeah, hey. And she's like, God said to me that I need to do my course again, but I need to do it with you. I told her I'm going to pray on it, but I kind of intrinsically knew that this could be something. And we decided that we wanted to launch this course with a physical event. Now, we didn't have the money for that physical event, and we ended up having to borrow the money from my mum to be able to pay for this physical event. So now we're taking a risk on this course. We're frustrated with each other financially. And now on top of that, we're in debt to my mother. Yes, my mother. And now it's time to see what happens. So it turns out that this event falls on the 28th or 29th of June. So it's literally at the end of June. Everyone's hyped. There's like 200 people in the room. My wife announces this course that she's doing. It's a public speaking course. I'll put the link below if any of you are interested in public speaking, growing in public speaking. That's her space. She's been in it for over 10 years. She launches this course. Everybody's going crazy. But people actually wanted it. People wanted to pay. They wanted to join. They wanted to be a part of it. We put out the information to pay. People start paying on the spot. Bam, bam, bam. I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands are coming into this Stripe account. And we get home that evening. We open the Stripe account and we are seeing numbers we have never seen before. And this is why God is so funny. Stripe takes a few days for the payments to actually land in your actual bank account. So by the time it had landed in our bank account, it was now July. God told me in January, the first half of the year was going to be hard. But when you get to the second half of the year, you're going to have more money than you could ever imagine. And from the start of July, payments were coming in like I had never seen in my life. And we made over £100,000 within the first 6 weeks of that course being launched. Insane. And now all of a sudden, the things that God was saying to me actually started to make sense. And that course to date has generated over £300,000. But not only that, because of the success of that course, I have been asked to help many others launch courses and been paid thousands and tens of thousands to do the same thing. So not only did he bless us through that, but he opened up doors of multiple streams of income. And now I finally understand those 3 defining moments that God was trying to say to me. First one was clear. The second half of the year, we made way more money than we can imagine. The second one, he asked me what's in your hand and he told me the answer. It was my wife. And the third one with the dominoes, he said I was putting what I have in the wrong place. I was trying to apply for jobs with my skills. I was trying to do all of these other things. But little did I know that I had to put those very same skills, those very same things I had, and connect them with my wife. And that was the missing link for the breakthrough that I was praying for. And that 40-day fast transformed my life financially. I can thankfully say that I've never been in a place from that time where I didn't have the faith to believe that God was going to come through for finances. Has there been low points in terms of finance? Yeah, but God's always provided. And he's provided us with more and more and more and more opportunity. Our faith is on a whole different level than it was before, but it all stemmed from that fast. I did something I'd never done before to get results that I had never had before. And now I'm so grateful to say I've been able to teach thousands of people some of the things I learned and help them make more money online as well. And if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to leave a link down below for a product I've created that's £97, which is all about making more money online using social media. But here's 3 final takeaways from this experience between me and God. Number 1, vision comes before provision. When God gives you a vision, he is responsible for supplying the resources to make that vision happen. All you have to do is your part. And your part is not to worry about the finances. Your part is to do what God told you to do. Number 2, God speaks, but he doesn't always explain. Now, I wish that God had made some of those things clearer to me, but I'm going to be honest, he just really didn't. He just really didn't. I guess he didn't feel the need to. I guess he knows in his all-knowingness that we would have figured it out, right? Sometimes he speaks and he doesn't explain, and you just kind of have to listen and roll with the punches. That was a hard 6 months of finding out, is he actually going to be faithful to his word? And I'm just so glad that he was. And number 3, sometimes your breakthrough is actually connected to someone else. And you'll be surprised how often that is. One of my wife's favorite scriptures in the Bible is the woman, it was either Elijah or Elisha, told her to go and collect the jars. And as she poured out oil into the jars, the oil never ran out. So she filled up loads of jars of oil and was able to build this miracle business that transformed her life financially. But she wouldn't have been able to do it if she didn't get the jars from her community. And sometimes you have the oil, but somebody else has the jar. And so look, if you're in a season where you're struggling right now, you're struggling financially, you don't know how God is going to come through, I hope that this story, my story, has encouraged you, because look, this is my real life. This is really what I went through, and this is really how God transformed mine and my wife's situation. And I believe if he did it for me, he's no respecter of person. He can do the exact same for you. And my prayer is that this testimony has stirred you with faith to push your limits in a way of believing God for more. And if you enjoyed this video and it's blessed you, please press that subscribe button, hit the like and leave a comment so I know how you found it. I'm super interested in hearing your take on this because it's pretty crazy, I know. We'll be back with another video tomorrow. Stay blessed and speak to you soon.